All right, so first of all, let me start by saying it is a pleasure to be up here today. I was talking to Amber and Jen earlier and said it feels like coming home. Beyond Diversity, Inc. is an organization that was born here in Fort Saskatchewan. And lately I've been doing a lot of work away from home, so being here today with all of you is a very, very big pleasure for me. Today we're gonna go for a journey. We're actually gonna go for a walk. So yes, Amber was correct. We are going to be getting out of our seats. We're gonna talk about a word in this space that is very polarizing and often causes some tough emotions. And with that, I'm going to invite you all to do what you need to do with those emotions. If during this portion of today you need to stand up and leave the room, please do so. Okay. If you need to walk out of the room, please do so. If you need to put your head down, if you need to exit out of the exercise today, I invite you to do that with no judgment. These exercises can bring up a lot of things for a lot of people. Typically, Erin and I work in the same space, and typically, we were talking earlier, we do these types of things in about a half a day to a day session, so we're gonna try and squeeze it into 20 minutes. So come along for a ride with me. We're gonna talk about an identity wheel here. Erin showed one example, here's two more. So you'll see the one on the left is actually from the Government of Canada. The other one is it's a rendition from Sylvia Duckworth. And these are considered power or privilege wheels. So these are all about identity. And you'll notice on here, just as Erin pointed out, there's gender, socioeconomic status, there's race, religion, and all of the things. Now, the interesting part about this wheel is that as you go through and you pick your different identities, what you will notice is that some of those identities in some circumstances will afford you what we consider to be privilege. We're gonna talk about that word a little bit more in a minute. And in some circumstances, it may actually cause what is called marginalization. Now, you can have multiple identities. That's where we intersect. I am a cisgendered white woman. Those are 3 of my identities. I was born in a small town. That's another identity. I came from a very poor background. That's another identity. So those identities all shape our experiences, as Erin had pointed out earlier. Now, let's talk about this really big evil word. This word has gotten so much attention in the last number of years. Privilege, what we're gonna do first is we're gonna talk about what privilege is not, okay? Privilege is not meaning that you grew up with a silver spoon in your mouth and you never had a hard time. Privilege does not mean that you've had it easy, or that you've never struggled, or that you have not yourself been marginalized in certain circumstances. So let's talk about what privilege is. Privilege and marginalization can be terms that we use for the expenditure of energy. If I hold privilege in a space, it means I have more energy in that particular circumstance to get through my day than someone who is marginalized. If someone who is marginalized or has a marginalized identity is trying to go through the same task as me, they're going to expend more energy than me. That's simply all it means. Holding privilege means I have more energy to get through. When I joined the Fort Black Society as a committee member, now vice chair, I had an exercise with Gloria at one of the local schools. And the first question I asked was, who is extremely surprised to see a white woman standing here representing the Fort Black Society? And everybody put up their hand. But the reality of the situation is, I don't face the same barriers as they do. I am privileged when it comes to that situation, which means I have additional energy that I can lend to them, and I can help. And that's what I choose to do with my energy. So I'm just gonna leave this up because now we're gonna do an exercise. I am gonna have every one of you come up here with me, and we are going to line up all across the front of the room.
Getting my
Oh, yeah.
All right, as close as we can, shoulder to shoulder. Hello, Elise! Oh my God, I haven't seen you in forever.
Come on in.
Amber, we need a bigger space. Okay, great job, everyone. All right, so what we might not understand is that privilege can actually be seen. We can visualize privilege and this energy during exercises just like we're gonna go through. The rules that we're gonna follow are quite simple. All we're gonna do is take a step forward if the statement that I read out applies to you. Okay, so if it applies to you in the past, in the present, if you've ever experienced what I'm about to say, just take a step forward. It's that simple. So what we're gonna start with first is around education. So when registering for school, whether it's public, post-secondary, in any of those institutions, have you struggled with physical access? Have you struggled with resources? Or have you struggled with discrimination? If you have, please take a step forward. It might interest you to know that the gender gap is most pronounced in the Western provinces within education. Alberta got a D, Saskatchewan got a D-. Most women in Canada hold tertiary degrees or certificates, while men hold PhDs. All right, next one. When you have applied for a job, have you felt that part of your identity was a barrier to your success? If you have, please take a step forward. It is estimated that roughly 15 to 20% of the global population is neurodivergent. Our systems in our hiring practices and recruiting are not set up for those that are neurodivergent. KPMG in Canada has hired 28 employees through a recruiting agency that specializes in neurodivergence. And according to an internal survey that they just launched, 89% of those people that they hired have done better and performed better than their other colleagues. They do belong in our workforce. To feel accepted, I have felt the need to hide parts of my identity, such as my sexual orientation, gender identity, or cultural background. A colleague in mine ran a little experiment on LinkedIn, and we did a little survey. We asked this question, and out of all the respondents, 98% of the people that responded to us, and there was quite a few, said that they were hiding part of their identity to fit in. So I have to ask you all, if 98% of us are hiding our identities and trying to be like the 2%, what is going on? Seriously, right? Next one. When I have needed healthcare, I have encountered a lack of insurance, lack of service, or another barrier due to my identity. AHS has released a new anti-racism statement as part of their continued efforts to combat racism in all forms. And I want to read this out to you. It's a little difficult, sorry. Racism, discrimination, and intolerance exist within AHS. Indigenous, Black, people of color, and Canadians of other ethnic identities endure pain of racism, discrimination, and oppression within our healthcare system. AHS will lead by example with a goal to become a healthcare organization that is inclusive, respectful, and treats everyone with fairness, equity, and equality, regardless of race. I have to ask the question, why do we need a statement like that in our healthcare system? Why is it necessary? I have been in a situation where I have feared for my well-being in my community or at my workplace because of my identity. One in 3 men have experienced sexual violence in the workplace. Higher numbers of hate crimes targeted at race and ethnicity and sexual orientation have accounted for the most increase in 2022. Hate crimes targeting religion were down from 2021. However, the annual numbers recorded were up by 12%. Erin talked about a divide. That divide is separating us, just like we did today. So let's talk about what it means. I told you that privilege and marginalization can be seen. So I want you to look around the room. Those that are standing in front of you have had to expend that much more energy to get through their day. They've had to change their hair. They've had to put on different clothes. They've had to spend time worrying and thinking about things that those that are behind have never had to think about. These exercises are meant to show where we can hold privilege and where we have extra energy. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person or a good person. It's simply, this is your experience in the world. So my challenge to all of you today, those that are standing at the back of the room, is to choose where you want to spend your extra energy and to reach out to those that are in front of you and ask how you can help. Thank you very much for taking this walk with me today. I hope you all had some reflections. And if you want to debrief, because I know that it can bring up some things, I'm here all day. So thank you very much.